not only am I going to share how I got my first rental property, but how I got it for $0 out of my own pocket. So I'll explain exactly what I mean. No, this is not just clickbait or lies. This is the truth. I really got my first rental property with $0 out of my own pocket. It's not just about the money. I mean, of course it's about the money, but it's not just about the money, because I don't do this just to make money. I invest in real estate for the freedom that the money gives me. See, just last week, I was out hiking for 5 days in the Denver area with my best friend. And during that time, my real estate was working for me. So with that said, real estate is also the #1 way that I've been able to accelerate my wealth in the last few years. And I'd like to share that with you as well. So I feel like I should say this because everyone does, but this is not financial advice. Please take it with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing my experience. So back in 2016, I was living in New York City, and I'd always dreamt of living in the Big Apple. It was exciting. The hustle, the vibe, the energy all around was just exhilarating. But I lived there for just 6 months because during that time, I got really burnt out. It's extremely expensive to live there. I realized that the dream is kind of far from the reality. And for me personally, everyone's different, but New York City is an amazing place to visit for a weekend or even for a month. But to live there, it just wasn't working for me. And I have family in the Midwest where I'm from, so I kept going to visit them, and I realized I could move back to the Midwest and buy my own home for the same amount of rent that I was paying to live 1 year in New York City. For 1 year of rent in New York City, I could permanently own my own home forever in the Midwest. And so that's what I did. So a lot of you are gonna get stuck on how to come up with the down payment for your first investment property. And I'm gonna say something that you're probably not gonna like, because you have 3 options here. 1, move somewhere cheaper. Okay, if that's not an option, then 2, put less money down for your down payment, because as a primary residence anyway, you can go as low as 3% usually, and I'll explain why that's important. Even though we're talking about rental properties, buying my own home was actually a key step in acquiring my rental property. So I'll get there in just a second, but hear me out. 3, if you can't move somewhere cheaper and you can't just put less down, or you don't like the idea of also having to pay the private mortgage insurance that you have to pay unless you put at least 20% down, then you need to get better at making or saving more money. That's just the reality. But it's not impossible. Where there's a will, there's a way. And so for me, it was giving up this New York City lifestyle, moving actually to be closer to family and some friends in the Midwest, and making my dream of becoming a real estate investor reality. So in early 2017, I moved to the Midwest. I bought my own home, so my primary residence. So I didn't buy my first rental property yet, but I lived in it. I built equity. Equity is the difference between the value of your home and the loan that you have on it. I built equity in a few ways. So 1, I rented out extra rooms, extra space in the home. 2, I was using that to pay down the mortgage faster. So 2, I was enjoying that the market was going up on its own. So that's a bit of lucky timing, yes. But generally, over time, just depends how much time, over time, the market does usually go up. And 3, I was making improvements to the home. So the home that I bought was not a complete fixer-upper, but there were a few things that I could do to improve it. So that is also a way to create equity in your home. So that's a whole nother video, how to create more equity in your home. But basically, that's an important fact in this story, because then after a short time, I was able to get a home equity line of credit, HELOC for short, on that home that I was living in, take that and use that amount. It was just about exactly what I needed as a down payment for my first rental property. So that right there, you all, that right there is how I bought my first rental property with $0 out of my own pocket, because it was coming out as a home equity loan. To be transparent, yes, that was a loan that I then owed to the bank. However, it was getting paid off by my renters because I got a rental property with renters paying a good rent. So they were helping me pay down the mortgage on the rental house and also my HELOC loan. And at the end of the day, I actually sold that home that was my primary residence a few years later. And when I sold the home, it was more than enough to pay off that HELOC without ever having to come out of my own pocket. It just came out of the sales price. So if that is sounding complicated or unclear, just ask me in the comments. I'm happy to clarify. But this is real. This is not a lie. This is not clickbait. It really happened where I was able to pull the equity out of my primary and buy my first rental property. So that's really what started the ball rolling. And over the last few years, I've bought several rental properties. I guess I can get into that in another video, but it's been amazing. I've been able to effectively retire on real estate in less than 5 years. And that was including living abroad in Brazil for a year and traveling extensively along the way. So I didn't have to give up my lifestyle that I love in order to do it. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please let me know in the comments. It actually really makes a huge difference if you do comment, because I need feedback to know, did you enjoy this? Is it interesting? And if you don't really have a comment, at least leave a thumbs up, because that really helps the algorithm. It helps new people to find these new videos. Everyone's strategy is going to be different, but what worked for me was leveraging my own home, my primary residence, in order to buy my first rental property. I kind of created that down payment money out of nothing. So everyone's strategy can be different. This is not the only way to do it, but what's important is to understand there are so many different ways to get started in real estate. So if you're feeling stuck or like you're not sure which way to go, then please leave me a comment. You can visit gabbywallace.com to learn more about me and what I do and how I can help you to get your first rental. Thank you so much for watching. Give this video a like, leave it a comment, and yeah, thanks again. Mwah. Bye for now.